Hey, welcome to this week's episode of M3, your midweek micro message. Hey, today I want to talk about power plays. There's something interesting about playgrounds. There's a level of innocence there because, children come and they play and they gather to have fun. And in most cases, if there's a problem, they'll apologize to one another and then they'll get right back to whatever games they were playing. But our lives as adults, they aren't quite that way. People like having the upper hand because they often feel like it gives them power. But when power and the ability to control situations, when those things are lost, uh, the situation can quickly turn into rage. And there's more to this than we think. As a matter of fact, in Romans 12 and 21, we are told, don't let evil conquer you. In other words, we should conquer evil by doing good. Nothing in that verse says anything about using and exercising power over anybody. Even the term, the power to forgive, that term within itself is often overused. Uh, it's true that there are a number of elements to the forgiveness process. And sometimes, as I said before, we have to have that process over and over again until forgiveness is finally achieved. But one thing that's not a part of the process is power. Power is not a part of the forgiveness process. Pardon me. When it comes to forgiveness, power is often used to either attack and control or defend and deflect. But either way, the problem that got us to the point where forgiveness is needed is never addressed when we do that. When it comes to forgiveness, if we aren't trying to fix the problem, then that means that we're likely trying to find a way to gain power over people or stop people from having power over us. Here's what I mean. There are four things that routinely go into this power dynamic when it's played as a power play, if you will, in the forgiveness process. Here's the first thing. Some people will turn to rage, and they will use rage to distract and intimidate other people. In simple terms, I'll get angry enough to punk you out where you'll just leave me alone and we'll never have the conversation. Number two, some people will use power or attempt to control our thinking, meaning I'll manipulate you in order to dominate you. Because in my mind, if I'm always right, that means that you're always wrong. The third thing, and the most dangerous one, is some people will use a narcissistic defense. That means I'm going to create the perfect image of myself to everybody else and the rest of the public, despite what I've done to hurt you. In other words, I'm not the bad guy here, they are. And then finally, some will even go as far as to condition themselves to have contempt for the person that they hurt. In other words, it looks like this: apologize. Apologize for what? Forgive. Forgive for what? They downplay everything to make themselves feel superior to the people that they've hurt. Um, Listen, whether we are on the receiving end of this power play or we're the people that's executing the power play, remember this Proverb 26 and 27. It says, if we set a trap for others, we'll get set in the trap ourselves. This has been your midweek micro message. And as I said for the last several weeks, take the opportunity, take the chance to forgive while you can. We'll see you next week.